In today's episode of the Pathmark Presents podcast, I have an interesting guest here with me today. I'm with Lauren Mason Carris, and she's hailing over from the team at Penny AI. And over there, she has a very interesting title. She's the VP of Learning Design. And today we really want to deep dive into, what Penny is all about, how it helps businesses to scale direct sales efforts, and how Lauren is thinking about growth for the company, as well as the role of learning design within this product. So Lauren, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Very happy to be here.
Of course. Maybe give us a 360 overview. What is Penny AI all about?
Great. Penny AI is a smart virtual assistant that helps our users and supports them in the direct selling process. So it helps users grow their business, manage their customers, and save time doing day-to-day tasks. We really focus on what we call micro entrepreneurs. These are folks who are very busy, live very busy lives, usually with multiple projects and multiple jobs. But our goal is to help them with building their business in addition to making life easier for them. We have a two-pronged approach. We support the field directly, so our end customers, and we support our corporate partners. So we funnel up insights and behaviors to our corporate partners so that they can in turn take those insights, take action on them, and help the field as well. So this smart virtual assistant automates the sales process and helps our distributors save time.
Interesting. You spoke about the micro entrepreneurs there already. Maybe tell us a little bit more about the businesses that benefit the most. Like who basically takes away the most value from Penny? Would you say, in which industry are they? Maybe tell us a bit about them.
Sure. So the industry is direct sales or multi-level marketing. It goes by lots of other definitions depending on the partner and the company. You may have heard of, marketing sales or direct to consumer, or in some cases, social selling. And this whole area, this whole industry has undergone a significant evolution and change over the last 20 years, certainly, but over the last 100 years, in fact, it's been an industry in place with sometimes a negative connotation, which is why you find lots of definitions of the industry. Nonetheless, the industry really focuses on one-to-one relationships. It's really about connecting individually and empathetically with a customer to understand their needs and then provide them with the product in line. When you think about who benefits the most, we go back to our founder's story. And if you explore our website at Penny AI, you will see a really wonderful story about someone named Terry Lynn. Terry Lynn she was really the inspiration for our product solution. Terry Lynn was a nurse who was working full-time, raising a family with young children, and really interested in pursuing opportunities for additional revenue growth on the side of her named profession as a nurse. And so you typically see this pattern often in the industry. Someone has a, quote, full-time job and is looking for a revenue generating, sometimes you'll hear it as a side hustle or a side project, or extra money in their pocket, often is what it's referred to. And in pursuing this sort of side hustle or their revenue generating streams, they often find great satisfaction in the value that they are providing in these one-to-one relationships with their end customers. And that often turns into the interest in growing their business, great satisfaction in developing people, developing teams, finding solutions for these customers. And at a certain point, any one of these sellers hits a sort of maximum capacity, because managing these customers, managing the workflows, managing the tasks in that sales process, and then in turn, managing their teams as they grow becomes somewhat overwhelming, and they have to make a choice. Am I going to pursue my full-time career? Is this going to become my full-time career? How can I optimize my day to balance both? And the story of Terry Lynn in her pursuit, where her business and her teams started to grow grow at a rate that she couldn't actually give it the full attention, came to us finding a solution for her. And that's where we use the power of technology to find a personal virtual assistant. I say personal, but really it's personalized. What is, what is the support that an individual needs in that flow? And that's what our solution does, is really look into that user's experience and optimize their day-to-day.
Very interesting. So how do others, just like Terry, hear about Penny? Like what is a typical journey of somebody, hearing about Penny and then, getting started? Or in other words, what are the client acquisition channels you guys leverage?
Sure. Well, much like I think the trend in the industry, it's really about one-to-one relationships. Influencers in the industry have a really big role in sharing the success or, different tools that are helping them to complete their business. And so we gained a lot of traction really early on with that one-to-one influence, recommendations from others, word of mouth. And I would say, and really hats off to our marketing team, because a lot of our social media presence actually shares a lot of best practices. It shares a lot of the process. It shares a lot of micro content and micro learning to help our users, or really the public in general, understand the value of the solutions that we provide. Since we have grown, we have partnered with corporate then to really support field adoption and change management. Our corporate partners, some of the brands in the industry, are looking to solve obviously the same problems. And so using us as a solution or suite of solutions to support their teams optimize their day-to-day, really enhance their business and grow has been really productive also. So we have the corporate influences we are supporting, organizational, optimization, but then also the one-to-one influence of leaders in the field that are championing and shouting and celebrating the success of Penny in their in making their lives easier, really. We also have a really great strategy, which was called Level Up and the Pennyverse. And these are two areas of free content that is created to be accessible educational resources for different levels of micro entrepreneurship. So brand new folks that are coming into the industry who might want to learn about what are some best practices, folks who are really leading and growing their business and need some strategies, we have some content to help them out. And then even leaders that are looking to evolve in their leadership. And this, Pennyverse and leveling up, this content has been a great funnel for us to attract users as well. So you can see that we're really using a lot of the strategies that are best in mind, and best in practice to support our users, but then it also helps to bring that attraction.
Super interesting. What role do you think the website plays in the journey? You mentioned there was a lot of content that you mentioned, even that, different levels of content for different levels of micro entrepreneurs. How do you think about the website? What role does the website play in the journey?
The website is critical. The website is, it hosts so much of this thought leadership, right? So in addition to Level Up and Pennyverse, we actually conduct some really critical industry reports annually. What are the trends that are happening in the industry based on the insights that we gain from working with our corporate partners, but also based on some really important user experience interviews and user experience studies that we send out, some research that we do. So our website is essential in hosting that thought leadership, in being a place for folks to go to explore and learn and understand, even if they're not a Penny user, and that then leads to conversion as well.
That makes sense. In your role, in learning design, maybe tell us at first a little bit more about the role and maybe how it works together, with you mentioned the website, now functions like marketing. Maybe tell us a bit about the role.
Sure. So learning design is relatively new as a title and sort of a role across different companies, but we're starting to see a pickup and a trend. The origin of it actually comes out of cognitive and behavioral psychology, along with curriculum development and learning pathways. And my personal journey has actually come out of that area of curriculum development, curriculum design. That's generally a pathway for professionals to move into learning and development spaces, whether they're in HR HR, whether they're supporting corporate organizations, or whether they're supporting with formal or informal learning. And with the advancements in technology, we have seen a growing need for really understanding the behaviors, the psychology, the pathways, the amount of content that supports or distracts a given user from learning and therefore changing behavior. If we think about the end goal of learning, it is to say that knowledge plus action equals a changed behavior, right? And so you can see how knowledge and a lot of marketing spaces really are the owners of the content, right? They are creating content, they are tapping into a lot of these behaviors already, but what is the action that they are taking? And this draws from a lot of bodies of research around user experience design, user experience and interface design, and of course that background in cognitive and behavioral psychology. So this is a growing multidisciplinary field that you're starting to see emerge more and more in different companies that have a serious and intentional approach or strategy for growth to really improve the user experience. But given that change is occurring at such a rapid pace across all industries, this question of how to upskill, how to reskill, how to learn new information and new behaviors and apply that in your role is really critical. And that's where you're starting to see this momentum around learning design.
Super interesting. And it seems to also very much tie into what you described on the content side of things, where you basically give them content in levels, right? Where they kind of start to...
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Leveling content, the concept around micro content and micro learning, which has really started to gain traction. And, you know, we're using the best in industry externally, you know, apps, language learning apps, for example, that have really built a foundation over the last 20 years to maximize those insights, put them into actionable sequences, really leverage templates, and be able to, I refer to it as microdosing of learning and new content so that users are not overwhelmed, but instead they are continuously getting this drip feed that is relevant and meaningful, that is just in time and in the flow of work.
Yeah, it's very much along the lines on how we think here at Pathmark as well. So super interesting to hear that from yourself. I want to give one question back to you then, because I want to sort of move a little bit from, you know, we talked a little bit what you guys are doing. We talked about how you're thinking about growth, content division. Now I'm curious, you yourself as a VP of design learning, how do you educate yourself? Like, what is sort of the places where you like to read? Because you mentioned there's so much noise, so much content. What's the places? How do you filter content for yourself to keep on educating yourself in your profession?
Yeah, that's a great and interesting question. I am a big fan of exploring multiple modalities. On the one hand, I like to explore them just to test my own assumptions. Mm-hmm. On the other hand, I like to explore them to see and observe new trends that are happening in those content areas. So I'm a big fan of audiobooks. Audiobooks are a really good example of long form content. It's a long book, right? A long publication cycle that is broken down through the user experience designed to be manageable in small chunks, right? And so you can track and time those chunks, and through the technologies, you can also annotate and take notes and highlight. Big fan of audiobooks for that reason. I'm a big fan of podcasts as well, because they're typically thematically driven and you get an infusion of lots of different insights from different stakeholders, different industries, different players, much like the work that you are doing. And so that fills a different area of a variety around different topics. A big fan of micro learning as well, and certification. I personally am a big fan of badging and certification. I know the research behind it also supports that when you can acquire something and be able to share it with others to show what you have acquired, there is that social confirmation, right? Which is really, really critical. Others see it and others validate it. And so that kind of alludes a little bit to some of our strategy around incentivizing activities or different behaviors for our users as well. So, micro learning in lots of different aspects, and also a big fan of networking and collaboration through, whether it's a conference online or an event that happens. So that's where I'm.
It's quite interesting because a lot of marketers on the show keep on mentioning again and again the audiobooks more and more because they can combine it with running, or they can combine it with a short break or so. But you packed it into a very nice concept, which is just, a different modality, short and crisp formats. That's what it is. Very cool. Super interesting. I have some rapid fire questions to wrap it up for today. Are you ready for those?
Do it.
What's the last book you read?
Oh, the last book I read was Designing for Storytelling. I was looking down because I thought I had it here on my desk, but Designing for Storytelling. I think that fits nicely in the marketing space too.
What's one single thing your company is focused on the most at the moment?
User experience improvement. And I think that hits all areas of our business. How do we reduce friction points at the onset and onboarding? How do we continue to delight and inspire our existing users? And how do we continue to gain new users based on the improvements that we are making and the finger on the pulse of emerging needs and emerging solutions?
If there would be no boundaries in tech, what's the one thing you would fix for your role today?
Oh, what a great one. No boundaries in tech. The one thing I would fix in my role, I'm going to give you a two-part answer. The one thing I would fix internally at Penny in my role would be a magic wand so that the insights we are gaining could magically make their way into our roadmap and just be resolved quickly. The magic wand at large and an industry at large would be to take these insights across industries and actually apply them to meaningful solutions in spaces like government or bureaucracy. We are learning so much in technology about improvements and efficiencies and optimization, and these insights need to make their ways back into the slower, more bureaucratic, red tape experiences where users give up, right? I mean, thinking about something as simple as trying to, get the electricity resolved, and it's just so much red tape, or something much more difficult like citizenship or, resolving refugee status. So much from technology that we could really drive improvements overall.
Yeah, again, another very interesting thought, how one group is sort of like exploring so quickly and the others could benefit actually quite heavily from it. Very cool. Very last question, right? If you allow a little bit of time travel, if we go back to the days of the University of California, if you allow, now you're heading out of formal education into the world of
work,
learning business language, applied language, learning experiences. Mm-hmm. What's the one advice you would give yourself for that journey?
Don't fear technology and data. I think there comes a point in anyone's career journey where technology and data is realized as a must-have, and we build competence and we build interest and exploration almost as a need because we have to get our jobs done, but it's not brought into a lot of the academic space early enough. And I really hope to see that change. It's for all areas, for all industries, for all disciplines. I think it's really critical.
Makes a lot of sense. Lauren, I really appreciate you took the time with us today to be a guest on Pathmark Presents. I want to give you the last word. If somebody would be forgetting all that we discussed about Penny AI today, what's the one thing that they should remember? Penny
optimizes the daily experiences for our users. We want to help make people's lives delightful. So that's our job. We're a solution to help them improve their day-to-day.
Thanks a lot for being a guest on Pathmark Presents.
Thank you so much.